We're the hottest station in town. Whatever you need, it's right here on 910 AM Superstation. The most powerful voices in the urban community.
Welcome back to Red Line. I'm Bankole Thompson. Welcome back to Red Line on Superstation 910 AM. Hillary Clinton is coming to Warren, Michigan tomorrow to deliver an economic speech on the heels of Donald Trump's economic speech before the Detroit Economic Club on Monday. For the latest on the 2016 campaign, I'm pleased to welcome welcome for the first time my friend Bob Weiner, who's a former White House spokesman in the Bill Clinton administration. He was also the director of the 2016 Democratic National Convention Daily Press Briefing Room. Bob, thank you for being here.
Thankfully, what an honor to be with you. And what
thank you. Let me start, Bob. Donald Trump yesterday, his remarks at the campaign, invoking, I guess, the Second Amendment, urging supporters, I guess, to do whatever they can. What did you make of that? Rolling Stone magazine basically said that this was an assassination hint. The Guardian newspaper said Donald Trump was suggesting an assassination. The campaign has come out, vociferously, actually hitting back at that, basically saying that the Hillary Clinton campaign is trying to turn things around. What did you make of that?
Well, Trump's revisionism, Bankole, on every stupid thing that he says and every horrible thing he says is remarkable, because right after he made that Second Amendment people can do that to Hillary remark, he said that will be a horrible day. So it didn't, and then only one media that I heard played that follow-on clip from him. So he meant that in inference, even if he didn't mean it in reality to actually happen. But he said it, he meant it, and he has no temperament to be president. And you mentioned his economic policy, that Hillary's going to be coming in tomorrow.
Right.
His economic policy that he gave to the Detroit Club was tax breaks for the very rich, drop big business and little business from 35 to 15%, and a 3% drop individuals for the very rich. So his tax breaks, Bankole, will cost some $8 trillion to the Treasury, is what the calculations are from those who are experts.
Just to let our listeners know, you're listening to Red Line on Superstation 910 AM. My guest right now is Bob Weiner, former White House spokesman and the 2016 director for the Democratic National Convention Daily Press Briefing Room. I want to dwell a little bit on Donald Trump's remarks yesterday. The New York Daily News today basically said Trump should end his campaign. Do you feel that Republican leaders need to come out and basically replace Trump on the ticket to have a presidential candidate hinting at something of this nature, an assassination, hinting at assassination? In fact, the Secret Service yesterday on Twitter basically said that, they're aware of the comments that were made.
That's right. Secret Service is aware of it. They can't, Bankole. He won the votes. The Republican base, the way they structured their primaries, allowed Donald Trump to win in a big way, overwhelmingly. And it's not just, to be honest, I prefer him being stuck with his comments from not only the Second Amendment, but the cons, dissing the Gold Star Mother.
Right.
Easier to win a Purple Heart. Mexicans are rapists. Women's blood gushing. McCain not a war hero. Obama not born in the U.S. Cruz's father on the Kennedy assassination. I mean, everything this guy says is disqualifying, and it never does. You remember in the primaries, after every stupid thing he said, he never lost in the polls in the people that voted for him.
Right.
So legally, he's the nominee. And the Republican rules allow for death or disability. Well, if you're going to call his mental state disability, I suppose you could do it. But there really is no way to take him out.
Coming back to Hillary Clinton, she's been focusing on the jobs issue. She basically has not responded to Donald Trump's comments. She's had surrogates responding to it, as well as Bobby Mook, who's the campaign chairman. Is that a good strategy for Hillary not to directly respond to what Donald Trump said yesterday?
Well, when somebody digs themselves into a ditch and they're your opposition, don't stop the digging. So I would say that it's exactly the right position, but she has talked about his temperament and his lack of qualifications to be president.
Right.
I talked with Bobby Mook at the convention, and he's quite a smart guy for Hillary. But her plan, Bankole, on jobs is massive infrastructure, which we need, which the Republicans have blocked during their gridlock years over the last several sessions of Congress. And she wants to tax the very rich, make them pay more, put penalties on outsourcing, and give tax breaks to the middle and lower so they can actually pay for things. That's her strategy. And she also will, as the Congressional Budget Office and others have said, she has a zero-sum cost to the Treasury for her economic plans, whereas Trump is $8 trillion.
Right.
Because all he does is say, I want infrastructure, and we're going to do tax breaks for the rich. He never says how he's going to pay for it, while he adds, as Bill Clinton said in the last Democratic convention, it's arithmetic. It's simple arithmetic. You give the tax breaks to the rich. You don't have the money in the Treasury for social programs or work programs the way that Hillary is going to do.
So some analysts have suggested that the last time we saw a landslide in presidential elections was the Reagan era, when Reagan got elected. But I'm curious here, Bob, as to your take. Clinton right now, as we speak, Hillary Clinton is leading in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and other battleground states. She's, in fact, leading in Georgia, which has never actually voted for a Democratic president since 1992, under Clinton. Do you feel that moving forward, to November, we're only 90 days away, that, in fact, there's a strong chance that Hillary Clinton might win by a landslide?
Never forget, Bankole, that Michael Dukakis was 15% up after the conventions and lost. But he did stupid things in his campaign to lose.
Right.
He stuck himself in that tank and looked like a puppet. And then he talked about how he really didn't have a feeling on if his wife was raped and killed, about capital punishment. I mean, he gave the stupidest answers that anybody could imagine, and it cost him in the election, and he lost. So if Hillary doesn't make those mistakes, I feel very good. But Trump will close. Nonetheless, the calculation, Bankole, by most experts is that if you're 7 or 8% up in the generic, it could actually mean even the House of Representatives in a wave election. And so the Senate, the House are at stake. We could see the kind of support for President Clinton that could allow her to do the agenda on jobs and social programs and education, college loans, and health care and so forth, and actually make a difference for this country. So it's very possible that we are in the midst of a wave election. But I'm only keeping my fingers crossed because we know the reality from Dukakis.
Yes, I mean, and that's true. And Dukakis made the mistake that Donald Trump is making right now as we speak. But let me ask you, we had 50 national security experts, including Michael Chertoff, who was the Homeland Security Secretary. We've had Tom Ridge, former governor of Pennsylvania. These are basically what, I would call the Republican national security establishment came out against Donald Trump, basically saying that he's dangerous to the presidency. What does that do to the Republican Party and its brand?
Well, Trump is playing it backward and saying that shows the establishment doesn't want me. And he makes a point about they were all for the Iraq war. So he actually scores a minor point on that. But the recklessness and the danger and the fact that he says that NATO shouldn't be necessarily supported. NATO is our rock. That has to be supported. And that it's okay to not worry about whether Syria and Iran have weapons and to renegotiate the deals and so forth. Those are horrific statements that he makes on policy. So this is a guy who President Obama in a news conference, and I'm cleared into President Obama's news conferences because of our op-eds. He made a point that with Trump it's daily. It's daily. And you see people that don't support Trump who absolutely normally would support the Republican nominee. And I'll just add to that, my former boss in the White House, Barry McCaffrey, the four-star general, hero of the Iraq War, who is rigidly independent and never endorses whatsoever, but came out strongly against Trump because of the dangers and the temperament that he shows in the way that he functions on foreign policy and national security.
Let me go back to Trump's remarks about Hillary Clinton here. I think it is significant on many levels. I was reading this morning Thomas Friedman, the New York Times op-ed columnist, basically did a parallel analysis saying that what Trump basically said in urging, or suggesting Second Amendment supporters may take action of some sort against Hillary Clinton if she decides to put justices on the Supreme Court. Thomas Friedman said, is the same kind of rhetoric that was fed the assassin who killed the Israeli leader Yitzhak Rabin in Israel. And he said this kind of language is dangerous and is something that we must take seriously. Are Democrats actually concerned that, in fact, this campaign has descended to this level of discourse?
Well, this is a guy, Bankole, who said I could shoot anyone on Fifth Avenue and I wouldn't lose any votes. He said I'd pay the legal fees of the people who commit violence at his rallies against the protesters against him. This is a dangerous guy. It's not that anybody really takes him seriously other than the nuts. And the nuts are the ones who will go the extreme because of the parameters that someone like Trump or a Wallace or somebody like, or a David Duke, who, by the way, has endorsed Trump, says.
Right.
So that is the danger here, is that he sets a definitional bar that the nuts could use. And so it is absolutely unacceptable. And as you pointed out, that's why the Secret Service looked at this statement.
Right. So what happens now with Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House? He won his re-election yesterday in Wisconsin, basically reaffirmed his support for the Republican nominee and indicated that he hoped that Trump's remarks were just a bad joke. Should Ryan at some point, I know he signaled that, endorsements are not a blank check of sort, but should Ryan at some point, like the New York Daily News said, look, this guy is not fit?
Well, they can't, Bankole. Should he? Sure, he should. But, he's lost maybe 10 Republican senators and congressmen so far, but the bulk won't do it because they're doing damage control now in terms of trying to protect from the top of the ticket on down. If people who don't vote for Trump at the top and say vote for Hillary Clinton are likely, there's about a 10% factor there, to vote for all Democrats all the way down, which is, of course, what we want. So the Republicans are caught between a rock and a hard place. They don't know what to do, and we can sort of sit back and enjoy that.
Thank you so much, Bob, for coming on the show. Thank you.
It's a pleasure, Bankole.
All right. Bob Weiner, former White House spokesman in the Bill Clinton administration. He was also the 2016 director of the Democratic National Convention Daily Press Briefing Room, speaking to us from Washington. Donald Trump. Coming up, we'll talk more on Trump, and we will take your calls. Hillary Clinton is set to visit Warren, Michigan tomorrow, basically to give an economic speech. And let's see what that speech is. We'll compare and contrast what that speech would look like compared to what Donald Trump's delivered at the Detroit Economic Club, in which he made Detroit front and center of his remarks. In fact, he said Detroit's failures, its economic worries, are the result of failed policies supported by Hillary Clinton. The weather right now is 90 degrees sunny, and it's brought to you by Weather Vision. Again, you're listening to Red Line on Superstation 910 AM. I'm Bankole Thompson. When we come back, we'll begin to take your calls at 313-209-9000, 313-209-9000.
AM Superstation, the best, the brightest, and the bravest voices in the urban community. Don't believe me? Just listen.
I can say that I guarantee you that Martin Luther King did not march, get arrested over and over again, didn't march from Selma to Montgomery for gays, lesbians, bisexuals, transgender, and questioning individuals.
You're indicating that these are people should have less protection, and here we are as a group of people.
No point did I say they should have less protection.
Excuse me?
If they want to have their own civil rights fight and march, they can go ahead. I don't have a problem with it. You're right, they are Americans. They also have a right to pee in the toilet somewhere. They don't have a right to go pee in the toilet with my kids.
I have a small bone to pick with you.
Okay, we get ready to cut the caller off when she says something crazy, dog. Get your hand on the button. Go ahead. What's your bone?
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation, the most powerful voices in the urban community.
Home, life, and auto. Claims that are unfortunately routinely denied by insurance companies. Since 1996, I have successfully represented thousands of victims whose insurance claims were denied. If I can be of service to you, call me, Attorney Carl Collins III.
Put your hands up now!
Do you have anything illegal on you?
Hands up. Get on the ground!
Recharged.
He's running. He's running. Sheriff's Department, stop!
What is that?
Re-energized.
Stop resisting! Crawl towards me. Tease him. Get ready.
Reloaded.
You looking for some fun?
Got him.
Hey, there's no point crying now.
All new Cops Reloaded. Viewer discretion advised at 3 p.m. on WADL Detroit. WADL Detroit has entertainment for everyone.
And where'd you get these cute little outfits?
Looks like Dumb and Dumber.
More like Rick James and Little Richard after a fight. And nobody won. That's a good one, Chloe. That's a good one.
That's all right. Just kick a man while he's down. Just kick us.
I don't care if you're up or down. I just want to kick.
Visit WADLDetroit.com for complete show listings. WADL Detroit, Adele Broadcasting Corporation. It's your one-stop shop for all the programs you love. The classics, the fan favorites, and all the movies you can handle. If you want it, we've got it. You want it all in one place. Look no further than WADL Detroit, Adele Broadcasting Corporation. On the next, The Pulse with Karen Dumas.
With Councilwoman Mary Sheffield about the task force to address homelessness. We'll also talk to Frank McGee and Marcel Payton about the youth initiative at the NSO.
Listen to The Pulse with Karen Dumas, weekdays at 4 p.m.
Welcome back. I'm Bankole Thompson. You're listening to Red Line on Superstation 910 AM. It's time to bring our roundtable, and we'll take your calls at 313-209-9000, 313-209-9000. Talk about Hillary Clinton's visit to Warren, Michigan tomorrow, and Donald Trump's, of course, visit on Monday here. Joining me now is Brandon Snyder, is the Director of Organizing at Michigan United. On the phone with us, Stacey Swimp is a political commentator and a self-described independent. We'll be joined by Diamo Murphy shortly in studio. We begin to take your calls now. 313-209-9000, 313-209-9000. Brandon, thanks for being here, and this is your first time on the program.
Yes, thank you, Bankole. First time on the program.
Let me ask you about Trump. You were involved in a series of protests against Trump's visit to Detroit on Monday. Your take about his remarks and how you felt his presence was received in Detroit.
So I would go to say that his presence was not well received here in Detroit. I think that for this being a labor town, for this being a town, that's starkly people of color, with a large population of Muslim Americans and a large population of Latinos, that this was not a place that he was welcomed and warmly received, which is part of the reason why we felt it was so important to have that protest and that demonstration to showcase our voices and also to showcase the voices of women,
right?
Who he's specifically disparaged throughout this campaign cycle.
And we've had there were several women, I think 10 of them, as it was being reported on Twitter, who were basically responding to Trump inside the Detroit Economic Club meeting at Cobo Hall, and you could see in Trump's face he kind of held restraint, did not respond, but you could see he really wanted to respond in the way that Trump would normally respond, but he basically did not. I guess realizing that this was the Detroit Economic Club, it's not a rally of sort, but this is the 1%ers.
Yeah, that's right. We had about 14 of our volunteers, including former state representative Rashida Tlaib, who got up and spoke and really challenged him on his misogyny and some of his negative commentary throughout this cycle. And I would go on to say even further, that this was supposed to be the grand opening of Trump's economic plan for America and his platform, which is partly why he chose Detroit as the backdrop, which is partly why he chose the Economic Club.
Right.
But but what we were able to do, I think, was change the conversation away from this being the grand open of his platform, and really showcase the fact that A, he doesn't really have it's emperor with no clothes, that his plan doesn't really have any substance, and B, that that women will make the decision and will be key to this election, and
right.
that he has a long history and a long platform of ignoring their concerns.
Stacey, let me go to you. Your take about Trump's visit. He supposedly, he came to give an economic message. What did you make of it? There were a lot of people who were protesting.
You speaking to me?
Yes.
Thank you for having me on the show. You know, regarding Trump's so-called economic message, I thought it was very ambiguous. It's very vague. As it relates to the inner cities and the black community, I don't see any issue that he touched bases on that really affects the daily lives of local residents. Take, for example, if I can give you an example. Here in Michigan, 1 out of every 4 Americans in this state have a criminal arrest record. And though I'm independent, I can say I have worked with Democrats to try to get an Employee Fairness Act proposed here in the state legislature to try to get people who need second chances, so-called reoffenders, into the workforce. The Republicans will not support this. Donald Trump will not address it. Newt Gingrich is the only, probably Rand Paul, the only 2 Republicans I've ever heard address it. There are a number of issues in housing and banking that have to do with discrimination, economic policies. We need to address these. Trump refused to do it. I think that at the end of the day, if I may say this very quickly,
sure.
I couldn't help but thinking of Dr. Julia Hare. You may remember her and her husband, a black psychologist. In fact, they used to sit on the panel with Tavis Smiley, State of the Black Union every year. And she said there are 2 types of black leaders. They're leading blacks and they're black leaders. She said you'll know the leading blacks because they're the ones with an all-white audience. And you'll know the black leaders because they have earned their sweat equity within the community and the people have elevated them. It offends me that Donald Trump or any Republican will come into the inner city of Detroit, Chicago, or any inner city with an exclusive room of hand-picked black people that they want in the room, instead of saying we're going to open up a town hall, we're going to respect the people who have already put in sweat equity in this community. We want to hear from you instead of us coming here to tell you how we're going to solve your problems. We want to hear from you as to what you're already doing and figure out what I can learn from you and how we can meet in the middle. But they don't. But to come to the Detroit Athletic Club and a
Detroit Economic Club.
Yeah, economic club, thank you. And to have an exclusive meeting of hand-picked folks that are going to pass to you, that aren't going to challenge your policies, to me is an insult to the black people in this city and in this state and in this country.
Well, do remember, he also refused to address the NAACP at their national convention as well. So
he refused to address the NAACP?
Yeah, at their national convention in Ohio. And his excuse was that that Cincinnati was too far away from Cleveland.
They were gracious enough to invite him there.
Yeah, they invited him. They've invited,
yeah, they did. They always invite because George Bush spoke before the NAACP. I remember that.
As well.
Yeah, and George Bush spoke at the time when Julian Bond actually criticized George Bush, saying that he's festering what the late Julian Bond, called the Taliban of American politics. That's interesting. So Trump refused to address the NAACP.
Yeah, and that's correct. And I think I agree with with the caller, because I think one of the biggest things that's resonates with the Trump campaign is that there's just a lack of discipline. There's a lack of capacity in how they do outreach, but also in how they talk about message and policy.
All right, let's take some more calls. Our guest with us now, Brandon Snyder is the director of organizing for Michigan United, and Stacey Swimp is a political commentator and a self-described independent, and will be joined shortly by Diama Murphy as well. Let me go to Keith. Keith has a question or comment. Keith, go ahead.
Yes, Bankole, thank you, and to your distinguished guest, a comment and a question. First up, I think it's worth noting that the Trump that we have today is the Trump that we're going to receive. This guy isn't going to turn into a Bill Moyers or someone. And my question is this. These G summits, these meetings with leaderships here, what are we going to have to do? Are we going to have translators to translate into different languages, and also now a translator to say what he really meant to say?
Yeah, I think that's
yeah, you're
right.
You're on, Keith. Brandon, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I think that's right. The line of attack today has been that people just really didn't understand what I'm saying. But the Trump's biggest draw to his base has been that he shoots from the hip and that he says what he really feels. So I think that's absolutely right. That their campaign is muddled. They really don't have a message, and
And you know the other thing, Keith, is that you don't invoke the Second Amendment and say, well, I'm invoking the Second Amendment to get people to vote. I mean, come on. Second Amendment is the right to bear firearms. So people, people know what that is. So I don't understand how. Go ahead, Keith.
That was definitely irresponsible. I apologize. I forgive me, gentlemen. When I heard Brother Bankole say that, I couldn't help but shake my head because that shouldn't even be protected speech. Think about this. You're suggesting that if Hillary Clinton gets in office, and understand, I'm not voting Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, but you're suggesting that if she gets in office, the only way she can be stopped is through Second Amendment advocate. We all know what that means.
Yeah, okay, let me take Stacey, hold on. Let me take it back to our caller. Keith, go ahead. Complete your. Keith is gone. Okay, let's take another call. We have Robert on the line. Robert, question or comment?
Comment, please.
Go ahead.
From a journalistic point of view, I think this station is really one-sided. But that's my first comment.
Sure.
And then when we talk about a dangerous man, I remember Obama saying that he has a pen, he has a cell phone, and he has some drones. And he's been killing people all over the planet. So I don't know what danger you're looking for in the future, but I'm talking about danger that's already present, where Ms. Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration has destroyed the country of Libya. So for one, I would like for you and or your so-called distinguished, I don't know what makes him so distinguished, but to justify what went down in Libya other than that Obama said they didn't plan it out far enough.
And so, Robert, let me address you before you hang up. So let me address you. You know, as the host of the show, you know, I take calls and invite guests to come and express their opinions. And I take calls from people like you, even if we disagree with your viewpoint. So, you know, out of respect for each other's viewpoint, you don't need to call and insult or question the integrity of the credentials of my guest. You can call and express your opinion and disagree policy-wise, just like you disagreed with Obama. You know, he's talk about drones and so forth, but you don't need to add insult to it. You know, you don't need to do that. So let's not, you know, go down the route that Donald Trump will get in, or what Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. Let's not take that route. If you want to call in and engage in intelligent dialogue, exchange of ideas, and vehemently disagree, we can do that without using, you know, harsh words, or without throwing what I call aspersions or casting aspersions on our guest here. Okay?
Yeah,
see, because Stacey, hold on. I want to address Robert. Robert, are you there?
Yes.
Yes, you see, because I allowed you to speak. I didn't hang up on you. I didn't tell the operator to hang up on you, so we move to the next call. I wanted you to exercise your free speech, your First Amendment, and express your viewpoint. But you can do so without insult. No, listen to me. You can do so without insulting anybody on the program, okay?
That's right. That's beautiful.
I did not insult him.
No. Hold on, you insulted because you're saying what makes them distinguished. Let's not get into that.
Right.
Exactly.
Ask a question.
Yeah, but you can ask a question. Look. Don't play the Trump game here. Don't use semantics. You know, I think
you play the game.
All right. Okay. I think Robert has had enough of his viewpoint. Let's move to the next call. 313-209-9000. 313-209-9000. Let's go on a quick break. I'm getting the signal here. Stacey Swimp, self-described independent. Diamo Murphy, regional director of the local project. And Brandon Snyder, director of organizing for Michigan United. And Bankole Thompson. It's the Red Line Roundtable on Superstation 910 AM.
Stay tuned tonight for the Late Night Music Marathon from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m.
She said, hola, como esta? She said, konnichiwa. She said, pardon my French. I said, bonjour, madame. Then she said, sabase.
I got 2 phones, one for the plug and one for the load. I got 2 phones, one for the then one for the dough.
On the new 910 AM Superstation, the most powerful voices in the urban community.
It's her most important day. She needs it to be perfect. So why is everything going wrong? It's no wonder these ladies are called Bridezillas.
How dare you!
Watch their weddings become slow-motion train wrecks.
My day! This is about me!
You won't believe it. Bridezillas.
Weekdays at 9:30 a.m. on WADL Detroit.
Meet Cleveland Brown.
What's happening to me?
He's divorced with a kid.
Yay!
and starting over back in his hometown.
What you think?
You look Waffle House handsome.
He's got a new life with a new wife, a new family, and new friends.
Yeah, that's who we are.
And now he's on 5 times a week. The Cleveland Show. Viewer discretion advised.
Weeknights at 12:30 a.m. on WADL Detroit.
Take a laughcation with American Dad. Fly the friendly airways.
Right here, honey.
See the sights.
What's up?
Relax and unwind.
Just gotta find my quiet place. I got ya. I'll come back to that one.
It's an all-inclusive comedy getaway.
Get a picture of these. Meow.
Take a laughcation with American Dad. Viewer discretion advised.
Weeknights at 12 midnight on WADL Detroit. If drama is what you want, Law and Order Criminal Intent is what you need.
Who would do something like this?
I don't know. But I can promise you this. Whoever did do this, we're gonna get him.
Law and Order CI does it all. Investigations, interrogations, and dissects the actions and motives of some of the most heartless criminals in New York City. It's Law and Order Criminal Intent, and it's airing on WADL Detroit, weekdays at 8 and 9 p.m.
Hey, we get it. You don't always have time to watch TV.
Maybe you're just a big fan of napping.
Maybe you're getting your cat a manicure.
This is why we're hosting Crazy Talk. Every day we'll show you the most insane moments from reality TV.
And then we'll make fun of them.
In front of a live audience.
Sometimes with the person who lived through it in the studio with us.
Shut up.
What?
Crazy Talk, TV's wildest moments, from Cray to Z.
Weekdays at 5 p.m. on WADL Detroit.
Welcome back to Red Line on Superstation 910 AM. I'm Bankole Thompson. My guest, Brandon Snyder, the Director of Organizing for Michigan United, Diamo Murphy, Regional Director of the local project and a regular here on Red Line, and of course on the phone with us, another regular, Stacey Swimp, political commentator and a self-described independent. 313-209-9000. 313-209-9000. What should Hillary Clinton say tomorrow when she comes to Michigan to speak in Warren about the working class and the economy? Diamo, let me get to you. I want to start off with what Trump said yesterday. Again, it's just another bump, right? Or do you think this is actually serious now?
No, well, it is serious. It's because it chews up news cycles for him. And so I think that the novice level of this not being a political or not understanding how the system works, because even if you're an outsider, you need to still understand how the system works. He just continues to step on his own landmines. He plants them right in front of him, and then he steps on them.
But what does it say about the Secret Service tweeted yesterday, and it was retweeted 22,000 times. The Secret Service tweeted yesterday afternoon that they're aware of the comments that Trump made, but this is the same Secret Service that's protecting him.
Well, yeah, I mean, it
difficult
means
position, right?
It is a difficult position, but I mean, it's you have they can walk and chew gum. And I think that it's not an issue of them protecting, but that generally you expect threats to come towards the candidates from outside. You don't like to hear a candidate saying anything recklessly or casually or aside that looks like it could foment any kind of violence. And that's exactly what he did. And there's no way to really walk it back because you can read the words. It was very clear.
Stacey, let me get to you. Your take.
Well, I'm not even sure they're trying to protect Trump as they're trying to protect the ticket under Trump. I think, as I listen to Paul Ryan, I mean, he seems to be very concerned. The Republicans, I think they're 30 seats up for grab. I think he's concerned they're going to lose them. And I think
so the House could flip. This is the coattail effect.
I think he's very concerned. So I think what's happening is I think the Republican leadership, I don't think they're so much trying to protect Trump as they're just trying to do damage control to protect other candidates, because he won't listen to anyone. They can't do anything with him. He won't listen to Pence. He won't listen to the RNC chair. He won't even listen to Newt Gingrich, who has came out in support of this guy. But Newt Gingrich, I'm not sure if you saw the article, commentary maybe 3 or 4 days ago, that came out and said, look, I still support him, but the truth is he's showing himself more unacceptable than Hillary Clinton in terms of how he's conducting himself as a candidate. And this is from Newt Gingrich.
Right.
So, I mean, Trump won't listen to anybody. I mean, he reminds me of a social adolescent that didn't emotionally and psychologically make the transition from adolescence to manhood. It's like tit for tat, tit for tat.
Right.
And your caller earlier was saying about Obama, and I mean, this guy doesn't know me. If he knew anything about me, as you alluded to, he would have known that historically I have often chided Barack Obama's administration on policy issues. But I certainly want to say I agree with you that personal insults are always unacceptable in public debate. But as far as Trump goes, I don't think the Republican Party is trying to protect this guy. I think they're trying to protect their candidates, and they're afraid of what's going to be the impact Trump is going to have. I think it's potentially going to be what we saw in 1964 with the landslide loss by Goldwater, because Goldwater, like Trump, had an umbrella that invited a lot of extremes.
So let me do this. I want to read exactly what Trump said yesterday at his rally. He said, if she gets to pick her judges, referring to Hillary Clinton, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, that will be a horrible day. Now, that's exactly what Trump said yesterday.
And that's the problem with it. The problem with his statement is that if she's elected, or that first statement is a future tense. Everything after that is what happens after that future tense.
Yeah, and he ends up with horrible day.
So he tries to come back and say that I'm having I was talking about them mobilizing his voters. They would have to mobilize his voters before she became president.
Right.
This statement was all what happens afterwards, and nothing that can be done.
Right.
Yeah.
So and one of the let me come to Brandon shortly. Hayden, who was a former CIA director, basically said what Trump made these comments yesterday were what he calls an arresting comment. That if anybody had said that, if it was you and I who had said, we would be visited by the Secret Service and we would be interviewed for making that kind of comment.
Yeah, I agree. I think there was a quote from Gary Johnson, a Libertarian candidate, who also mentioned that this is just out of line. That even this at this point, this is just adds to the pile of outrageous and outlandish things that Trump has said, and that is even calling and himself is even calling that. For people to look at this, the exact same quote. That if Trump was a regular citizen, the Secret Service would be at his door. But I want to push back just a little bit about the, about his Second Amendment, comment. So while as a progressive, I do completely agree that this is, out of line. Is going to incite violence, and it's also going to be something that's going to get those folks who are wild up about Trump to actually, may potentially commit violence against the candidate or people who are in support. But I think that by Trump invoking the NRA, that he's giving himself a little bit of cover amongst the Republican Party. Right. Because now what that means is that there won't be a Republican candidate, from the top of the ticket, all the way down to local elections who's willing to go against the NRA.
Well, the NRA sent out a tweet yesterday basically supporting this movement explanation that Trump gave, which I thought was just a fallacy. It was just BS. That's what he basically did, because this morning Thomas Friedman, a columnist at the New York Times, wrote saying that this kind of language that Trump used yesterday is the kind of language that fed the assassin who killed Yitzhak Rabin, the Israeli leader, in 95, I think, and basically said this is dangerous territory we're getting into, where you have a presidential candidate, a nominee for president, using this kind of vulgar, the exercise of vulgar language is frightening.
And in this climate where we've had congressperson like Gabby Gifford,
who was shot in Arizona,
we've had several assassinations of high level.
That's a great example, brother. I'm glad that brother brought that up, because as Brother Bankole was talking, I kept thinking, as my colleague over there just brilliantly said, I kept thinking of all these examples in my head where people have gotten shot over comments like this. Right. And in the black community, I kept thinking about Malcolm X when he was killed.
Dr. King,
Louis Farrakhan, and he was having conflict with the Nation of Islam, and the comments were made that this traitor should be killed, and he was killed within a week of those comments.
Right.
Okay, and that's not to say that we know exactly the connection, but it's implicit. And I'm just saying that time and time again, we've seen this through history. You just mentioned it. The gentleman just mentioned it. That's why I said it shouldn't be. That's why I said it shouldn't be protected speech. It's unacceptable. You can't say things like that, even if you're not running for president. I know somebody that just got charged in Saginaw, Michigan, for suggesting.
Yeah, but for now, I think we're gonna stick it with the presidential nominee. That is what makes this more significant. This is the leader of a major party in the United States, going so reckless publicly with his remarks. Brian, stay on the line. When we come back, we will take your calls. We gotta go on a break now with our roundtable. Diama Murphy, Regional Director of the Local Project, Brandon Snyder, the Director of Organizing for for Michigan United, and of course, Stacey Swimp.
WADL Detroit is the station that satisfies all of your programming and entertainment needs. We're bringing you an exclusive collection of the latest, the greatest, and all your favorites in between. Laugh with the popular personalities of the present, and don't forget your free ticket to the box office. If you want it, WADL has it. We're your one-stop shop for all the programs you love. We are WADL Detroit. 910 AM Superstation is the voice of the people. Don't believe me? Just listen.
I listen all the time. Great radio personalities.
The new mobile site is incredible. With the visual live feed, this is a whole new level for community broadcasting. I'm also very impressed with the Bible section present both in a written and audio format. 910 AM has really stepped it up to a whole new level.
And we don't just show love to the callers. We see the comments and the posts too.
Great programming. Inspirational.
I know there's some good info on 910 AM Superstation.
We appreciate the love, and we can feel the support of the city. Keep it coming.
The latest promo for the 4 to 7 slot at the end says, the Goon Squad's on speed dial got me listening to reruns up to the dial.
OMG. A-listers on the radio.
So when you think of 910 AM Superstation, we want you to tune in, call in, and don't forget to find us on social media.
Big Hollywood, big stars, big movies, big TV shows.
Oh my God.
Celebrity Page TV, new exciting entertainment news right here. I'm Sonia Isabel. We take you around the world to give you the latest celebrity stories, plus behind the scenes access to your favorite stars and shows.
Exciting and interesting and fascinating.
Less talk, more Hollywood news right to the point. Celebrity Page TV, your entertainment news source.
At 8:30 AM on WADL Detroit. We don't box you in when we play music. We play it all. It's the Late Night Music Marathon.
But I was worth saving. So you came and changed my life.
From 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. on 910 AM Superstation. The most powerful voices in the urban community. 910 AM Superstation is the voice of the people. Don't believe me? Just listen.
I listen all the time. Great radio personalities.
The new mobile site is incredible. With the visual live feed, this is a whole new level for community broadcasting. I'm also very impressed with the Bible section present both in a written and audio format. 910 AM has really stepped it up to a whole new level.
Tune in, call in, and don't forget to find us on social media. WFDF Farmington Hills, Detroit, 910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media.
Welcome back. I'm Bankole Thompson. You're listening to Redline on Superstation 910 AM. Brandon Snyder, Director of Organizing for Michigan United, Stacey Swimp, political commentator, and Diamo Murphy, Regional Director of the local project. We're taking your calls at 313-209-9000, 313-209-9000. Donald Trump's comments yesterday hinting at what Rolling Stone calls assassination. The Guardian magazine also, the Guardian newspaper also calls it assassination, and it's all over the world, and people are actually using it to recollect some of the tragedies in this nation's history, whether it's the assassination of Malcolm X, the assassination of Dr. King. Dr. King's daughter, Bernice King, yesterday sent out a tweet saying this was uncalled for, and this makes her recall her father's assassination. Now but this is Donald Trump doubling down and basically saying, I mean, he has indicated that his temperament is okay. That's what has got him this far. And so he's just going to ride this out to November on Election Day. Let's take your calls. Brian has been waiting. Brian, question or comment?
Hey, let me do it like this for you, Bankole. I think callers that call in, and I like to defend 910 because I used to think that way at one point. And this is for the caller that called in and said that this station is one-sided. I noticed something about callers like that. You don't own your own station, and you're allowed to call in to 910 to voice your opinion. That's powerful enough right there. If you didn't grasp that, you turned that into Bankole or whoever else in one-sided opinion. I like to lead that caller and other callers with this. Do we question who you vote for or who you believe in?
Exactly.
Just because he's a host of a show and just because he has a platform like that gentleman, the host of your show, guest of your show, these are people that believe in what they believe in, and people die for you to believe in what you want to believe in, caller. So for you to say that 910 is one-sided, buy your own station, buy your own gold standard, and then that way when people call in and tell you you're one-sided, then you can say or do and feel how you feel. Until then, this is 910, the power of the people, where you and I can call in and voice your opinions and do not say, because Bankole has the right to vote for who he wants to. So what you're trying to say is Kevin Adele and Dodie Johnson's got this station programmed to let them view their opinion. And if you listen all the way down the dial, each one of them have their own opinion. And I was one of the first people to challenge L. Brooks. I could have timed it that he wasn't going to be on there long. That was just some grandstanding. And then a last thing, caller, learn to understand that this is power. You called in and abused your power. Next time, call in and have something of substance. Shout out to Kevin Adele, Dodie Johnson, to your guest, and Bankole, you are the man. You're a man's man, brother. I believe records support this station. And as the police officer at 910, call in with that crap, and I call in right behind you. Later.
Thank you very much. Thank you, brother. That was a slam dunk, right? No, but let me say this too. I mean, free speech. You know, I'm an advocate of the First Amendment by virtue of being a journalist. I mean, that's what we do. We express our opinions. And if you call in, I mean, you can disagree, but I mean, don't just insult people. I mean, we're not doing that on this program. You know, I mean, if you want to do that, call Rush Limbaugh's show and do that. You know, and do all that kind of stuff. That's what happens there. But this is not what we have. You know, we want to exchange ideas here. You have the right to express your opinion, and the fact that we will allow you on the air to express your opinion and give you so much time, you should respect that.
And I don't think that you've ever had any flaming partisans on the show anyway. I mean, it's very rare, and if you do, it's generally counterbalanced. One of the things that I've recognized is that for me, it's about how well we do it. We delve down into the issues on both sides.
But this is serious stuff. We're talking about a presidential nominee for president of the United States, the first world, who yesterday hinted at an assassination of another candidate. Basically, I mean, this is serious stuff. This ain't no comedy here.
And the whole thing is that this is the balance. If you didn't intend it to say that, and if you intended it to say something else, then walk it back. Then you should say, you know what, that is not at all what I meant.
Right.
This is what I meant. But instead, he just said, this is what I meant.
Right.
He never discounted the other ways it could be interpreted.
Right.
You know, and that's the problem.
Let me switch the pendulum. Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for me, this is, this puts a spotlight or shines a spotlight away from the actual substance of the campaign. So, like, if you've noticed throughout this 6-month cycle, we aren't even talking about policy or actual, economic justice issues that will affect people.
Right.
You know, he on Monday he unveiled his policy around child care and being able to write off child care. And nobody's been able to really critique him on the fact that this only works for the rich and doesn't work for the people that he so claims to support. So I think that the biggest frustration and the biggest the biggest flaw for us is to get wrapped up into these theatrics that he does.
Right. And this is serious business. Stacey, I want to come back to you before I take another call. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I agree with the gentleman on the panel that this is unacceptable. I agree with you, Brother Bankole. the highest stage in the nation is when you're running for president of the United States. In my opinion, the greatest country in the free world. Donald Trump has shown himself to be unfit. I want to throw one other caveat when he said Donald Trump is for the rich. I agree with that, but I just want to say I don't want anybody to think that Hillary Clinton is for the poor. Okay, that's a whole other conversation, but. You know, I'm all
I want to have that debate. Hillary Clinton is coming here tomorrow.
Yeah.
She's going to speak in Warren.
We'll have that debate on another panel, but I just want to throw that little thing out there that don't think that Hillary Clinton is in love with black folks. So please don't believe that. But Donald Trump has a proven track record of discrimination against black people in housing and employment. So you know that's so that there's no getting around that. He was banged twice by the Department of Justice for discrimination in housing and also for discrimination in the casino. So we know, and I don't know about you gentlemen, but I have never in my life seen a candidate so touted by racist, radical, white supremacist, white nationalist leaders. I don't know if you saw it I think it was maybe 2 days ago when the National Nazi Party chairperson came out and said that Donald Trump's candidacy represents a real opportunity for them.
Yeah, the Nazi,
that's right. And he went on to say that if Trump were to win, then they believe that they can create a congressional white caucus. So his comments are off the chart. But there's so much about this man that I think America ought to be trembling. And I want to say that for every reason that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Came out against the candidacy of Barry Goldwater, every American, black and white, should be afraid of a Trump presidency. I'm telling you.
Okay, let me do this. Let's take some calls, and I want to open this. Let's come back to Hillary Clinton, who's coming here tomorrow. Let's go to Tisha. Question or comment?
I just have a comment. I agree with your last caller, and you're doing a great job, Becky. I like when you shut them down. You know, to all my Christian folks, you know what you say is what I believe. So I really believe the Republican Party is a Donald Trump. He's just exposing their hand, and they're just upset about what's going on. Because I don't understand how people can look and say, well, this is my leader, and I'm going to go ahead and support him. Even the people like Paul Ryan, I listened to him when the journalist, she asked him a question about the speech, and he said, well, I think that was a joke. And he said, well, I didn't really hear what he said because he was focused on his own election. But you should be able to chew bubblegum and walk at the same time. You need to know what's going on.
Yeah, with your nominee.
Being the Speaker of the House. Exactly. So that lets me know. But that's who you are, because that's your party. So whatever he represents is what you represent, because he's the leader. He is the head, not the tail. And you can't tell me that the leader of a party does this and you do something different. That don't make sense to me. So I think that people who sit up here, like your last caller, not the last caller before that, but sit up here and supported Donald Trump and talking about Hillary Clinton. I know I live in the United States of America. I do not live in Haiti. I don't live in Libya. I don't live in Africa. I live here in the United States of America. So you have to stay focused on what's going on now, because what you're looking at is something like Hitler. So you sitting up here telling me that Donald Trump is not going to have the power. Donald Trump don't care about anybody in his way, he going to knock out. So if they don't believe that, just wait and see. So it just pisses me off when I hear anybody that sit here and support Donald Trump, because if you support him, that let me know where you lie, which I'm okay with it. But at least I know what side of the fence you on. So you stay on that side of the fence, I'm going to stay on my side of the fence.
All right.
I digress.
Thank you very much, Tisha. 313-209-9000. 313-209-9000 is the number to call and chime in this red line conversation with Brandon Snyder, Diama Murphy, and Stacey Swim. Brandon, let me go to you. Hillary Clinton is here tomorrow. She's going to speak in Warren.
Yeah, I think what she's going to need to do is really bring a substantive agenda around, economic justice reforms. There's still a lot of work for her to do to bring over that progressive base that the Sanders campaign cultivated. A lot of young folks, a lot of black and brown young people. She's going to have to work to move past that neoliberal agenda that she's been that she has a tag of. So she's going to have to really bring it. In regards to, there was a caller that spoke.
So let me understand you here. Yeah. Looks like Hillary Clinton has to present somewhat of a double personality here. She has to be the liberal, the neoliberal who wants to get Republicans to come on board her campaign. At the same time, she has to have some sort of a progressive candidacy in her to attract the Bernie Sanders supporters. I mean, that's a difficult thing to do.
It's very difficult, but I think there's still room. There's still a lot of openings for on a national level as well as at the federal level to speak, to work on things that matter to people around jobs and around criminal justice. That for many times the Democrats have just fallen flat on. Like, I think that for her not to be able to have an agenda that targets and that speaks to progressives is doing a disservice, because this is essentially the new wing that is being created. So it's not necessarily her creating a different personality, but also actually speaking to them and creating jobs plans that will work for them.
And she spoke to the Netroots convention, which is the preeminent grassroots convention around the nation. And she signaled at that convention a couple of weeks ago, Diamo, that she will actually overturn or push for a constitutional amendment for Citizens United that allows unlimited corporate funding in political campaigns.
Right. Clearly, after this primary with Bernie Sanders, she got moved to the left, which is a good thing. It talks about the activist base within the Democratic Party, and that's one of the things that I'm most proud of. Do we have the progress that we should have or see from this party? No. Is there some pushback at the top and maybe some tone deafness? Absolutely. But the bottom line is that she is open as a politician to be moved to sensible positions. And so that's what we have to do on the ground. Occupy Democrats, the new Bernie Sanders movement needs to coalesce and begin to continuously move her. And then I think on the dual side, she's also moved away from some of the more hawkish positions, which, she's still moderate as far as that on defense and issues, but we're conservative in some of those issues too. We want to be safe even as we want progress.
Stacey, Hillary Clinton has an opportunity here, unlike Trump, in terms of addressing the progressive wing of the party as well as the centrist or the centrist, if you will.
Well, I'm not a progressive, as you know, and I respect what the gentleman is saying. But as a Black American, I'm thinking to myself, I'd like to see her. Hillary Clinton and this Barack Obama administration, in my opinion, have pushed more pro-homosexual policies than they have pro-Black policies. It's my personal opinion. She wants to advocate, for example, the automatic hikes of minimum wage, so on. And she's just appealing.
Those are serious economic issues. Let's do this, Stacey. Let's go.
Well, wait a minute. You got to let me finish my comment.
Listen. You're not a caller. You're on the panel. Just stay calm and chill. I got to go on a break. When we come back, you can finish your thought. It's Red Line on Superstation 910 AM. I'm Bankole Thompson, Stacey Swimp, Diamo Murphy, and Brandon Snyder. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Tanisha Thomas.
And I'm Ben Aaron. We're hosting a new series called Crazy Talk.
It's a really funny show filled with the wildest moments from all your favorite reality TV shows.
Tanisha, what exactly makes you an expert on crazy?
Honey, I was on the Bad Girls Club, okay?
Oh, yeah, that's like Crazy University.
Mm-hmm.
So you know crazy.
I more than know it. I live it, okay?
Crazy Talk, the most hilarious clips from reality TV.
Weekdays at 5 p.m. on WADL Detroit.
Put your hands up now!
Do you have anything illegal on you?
Hands up. Get on the ground!
Recharged.
He's running. Sheriff's Department, stop!
What is that?
Re-energized.
Stop resisting!
Crawl towards me.
Tase him, get ready.
Reloaded.
You looking for some fun?
Got him. Hey, there's no point crying now.
All new Cops Reloaded. Viewer discretion advised at 3 p.m. on WADL Detroit.
From the crazy, twisted, brilliant mind of Seth MacFarlane.
Who?
Creator of Family Guy and American Dad.
What else is on?
Comes the Cleveland Show 5 times a week.
To Cleveland!
And it's just what you'd expect.
Yes! This show delivers.
The Cleveland Show. Viewer discretion advised.
Weeknights at 12:30 a.m. on WADL Detroit. WADL Detroit has entertainment for everyone.
And where'd you get these cute little outfits?
Look like Dumb and Dumber.
More like Rick James and Little Richard after a fight. And nobody won. That's a good one, Corey. That's a good one.
That's all right. Just kick a man while he's down. Just kick us.
I don't care if you're up or down. I just want to kick you.
Visit WADLDetroit.com for complete show listings. If you don't want to listen to the same songs all night long, Stay tuned for the late night music marathon.
When you roll with somebody like me, there's no limit, baby.
From 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. on 910 AM Superstation, the most powerful voices in the urban community. WADL TV 38 Detroit. It's your one-stop shop for all the programs you love. If you want it, we've got it. The classics, the fan favorites, and all the movies you can handle. If you want it all in one place, look no further than WADL Detroit TV 38. We're the hottest station in town. Whatever you need, it's right here on 910 AM Superstation. The most powerful voices in the urban community.
Welcome back. I'm Bankole Thompson. You're listening to Redline on Superstation 910 AM. Our roundtable guest, Diama Murphy, Regional Director of the local project. Brandon Snyder, Director of Organizing for Michigan United, and Stacey Swim, political commentator and self-described independent. We are taking your calls at 313-209-9000, 313-209-9000. What do you expect Hillary Clinton to say tomorrow when she comes to Warren, Michigan, to deliver an economic speech to the working class? Stacey, let me get back to you before we went on a break. You were trying to make a point.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. I like to see her address policies that specifically address policies that specifically speak to the difficulties, the barriers that Black Americans are facing in this state and across the country. I have yet to hear her do that.
Right.
You know, we have over 6 or 7 million Black Americans in our country who cannot vote because they have a felony conviction in strong red states in the South. Imagine if they're allowed to vote. What that looks like at the outcomes of the elections. That's what they're afraid of. That has nothing to do with public safety. They're trying to stop people from voting. You have a voter disenfranchisement also. I'm not talking about IDs.
Right.
I'm talking about voter disenfranchisement based upon all kinds of things that have to do with criminal justice system.
Right.
And so that's unjust. She has never addressed it. I think we still need to be talking about the disparity in truth in sentencing. There are other issues in drug policies, and I'd like to hear her talk about that. That's really strong here in Michigan, where we really need an Employee Fairness Act in our state. I wrote the policy in Saginaw, Michigan, that has to do with employee fairness. We called it ban the box. I work with the brothers in Detroit on ban the box, but that's not enough. We need a state policy. I like to hear it. And finally, as it relates to the water issue in Flint, you know, I like to hear more than rhetoric. I like to see her lobby for federal funding. I like to see her really roll her sleeve up and get involved with a right now solution for the people of the city of Flint. We don't need more. That's not a sustainable solution. Sending water to the city all the time.
Right.
It's not a sustainable.
No. I mean, on the Flint strategy, Stacey, I agree with you. In fact, I wrote a column actually. On the opening day of the Democratic National Convention, in my column in the Detroit News, criticizing the mayor of Flint. I thought it was not political strategy for her to endorse Hillary Clinton in January. I thought she gave away her leverage. She should have waited 4 weeks before the Democratic National Convention and then come out with the endorsement, and then she can run into the convention. And Flint would have been the talk of the Democratic National Convention. Even when she spoke at the Democratic National Convention, she did not speak on prime time. She spoke around 6:30, 7 o'clock. It was not the 9:30 p.m., 10 p.m. Prime time spot when Flint is perhaps one of the most important, one of the most unfortunate social catastrophes in American history, of course, in Michigan history. So I think addressing Flint has to go beyond just candidates issuing their own press releases.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, the situation that's in Flint is, a prime example of running your state like a business. Right. And if that's one of the things that we in the Democratic Party or on the left, are against, I think that we missed out on an opportunity to speak against austerity policies and to speak against these policies that create more tax subsidies for the rich. So right. I think that was one of the big errors. But going back to to what Stacey just mentioned, but also with tomorrow, if we don't talk about, criminal justice and the fact that people are being locked out of jobs, not just here in Michigan and here in Detroit, but nationally, because of criminal convictions, then we are doing a disservice to Black and brown people. Like we are the people who are often on the outside looking in for these positions as well.
Hillary Clinton is coming to Warren tomorrow to speak to the working class and basically promise them a new job. I think we need to begin to push the idea that Hillary should come back to Flint and talk about racial justice, talk about environmental justice, and issue a major speech. Let's have Flint become part of the national conversation as we move towards November. I think that should happen, and that's something that we need to begin to talk about.
Yeah, I think that it may not be something that she needs to talk about, and this is the dynamic of politics that why you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater,
right?
Because there still is an art and a science to it. And so the whole thing is that for some of those very issues, the bellwether issues that she needs to address around Black issues, around social and economic inequality,
and Flint is an umbrella example, though, of the social. Flint is like it has all the ingredients.
I know it has all the ingredients. It also has a Black face to it, and the problem with that is as much as it is, it's a conundrum, because if she addresses it too hard, you could see those numbers shrink back just because. Obviously, the Trump dynamic out here, which is polarizing us more and more by race,
right,
is also, there's still an unknown group of people out there that have not registered on that side as well, and so that's a very radical fringe, and so we don't want them mobilized.
All right, so let me take some calls here. Let's go to Rick. Rick has been waiting. Question or comment?
Comment. Can you hear me, Bankole?
Yes, I can.
Good. Yeah, good afternoon to everyone there. I'm with Make3.com, and I have brought it up once before. I agree with what your guests are saying right here at this point of going toward a general election. My concern has been about how the Democratic Party lays out its platform as a party. Now, and the second part of that is, how are they learning about veterans in Detroit that are having problems? Who is collecting that information? How are they learning about women's issues? How are they learning about the plight of the uneducated and the underemployed? How are they learning? Are they waiting for statistics from the Department of Statistics or the Department of Labor? How are they finding out that's key? Because I see that as being part of the problem. It takes them so long to even get an idea of what the problem is because they're so far removed that it creates an issue for me, the average person. They need to designate a source that takes in those claims from individuals. Without that, there is no way that they can be on top of these issues. There is no way if we can assess if they are making any progress on these issues, because all we're going to get is data that has been filtered multiple times. And that's the problem. That's why you can't get enthusiastic for the same old thing. And nothing new has been changed. I have nothing else in writing. I think voters, particularly Black voters, are the only ones on the faith system. Every time we do something, we got to take it on, okay, we hope you do it. And, that's wrong. We need some power here of enforcement, and that means allowing people to tell what their issues are and keeping them connected by virtue that we care enough about their problems to listen. Maybe they'll listen to ours. If we can get that mutual agreement, I think we can put some power together.
Thank you so much, Rick, for that perspective. I'll come back to the panel, but let me take another call. LaShonda, question or comment?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Question. In fairness to the subject of racist Duke, I'm saying this incorrectly, but Margaret Sanger, to Bankole, I'd like to address this to you. I find that there is not enough conversation as far as being an absolute racist like Margaret Sanger. And I know that you know who she is. And I'm wondering if that is going to ever come into the subject, especially for Black women. We understand that we will deliver this vote, but I have issues when you call somebody a racist on one side, but then you don't say, well, you know what? You got to also say in the same breath, Margaret Sanger. Hillary Clinton is very fond of her. There are numerous stories of the whole subject. You just have to look up Margaret Sanger. And I'm asking you, is it fair in the discussion of these conversations, especially when it relates to calling a person a racist, that you show both sides of the story. Thank you. I'll hang up and listen.
So you're basically saying that we need to equalize the conversation, and I understand that. I mean, there's no question, but the person that you mentioned is not the one that's running for office. You know, hold on, let me finish. The person that you mentioned is not the one running for office. And I don't think she's on record coming out saying that Hillary Clinton's election is going to be, a big win for a white caucus. You know, it's going to be a big win for, white people to get together. We don't have that. You understand? And I'm not trying to excuse Hillary Clinton. I'm not trying to excuse the Clintons. I mean, we can go back to 2008 when Bill Clinton basically described Obama's entire biography as a fairy tale. And it drew basically the anger of Congressman James Clyburn and others, who came out and said, look, don't play with what is happening here. This is history in the making. You know, when John Lewis came out and supported Hillary Clinton, his district in Georgia, in Atlanta, went for Obama. He came out crying and walking back everything that he said about Obama. The same thing with Andrew Young, all of these deputies of civil rights. So I'm not excusing Clinton here. The Clintons, of course, they do play the race card all the time. But David Duke basically came out and said, if you vote against Donald Trump, you're voting against it's a treason to your heritage as a white person. So we have to deal with that. So if you bring up any other person that you feel is a racist or has played the race card, or is friends with the Clintons, but I want to see what they've said on the public record as it relates to this campaign. That's what we're dealing with. I don't want to get distracted here. I don't know. Am I being misunderstood here, Stacey?
Bankole, if you don't mind me, I promise you I'll be quick. I'm not really sure if you're in line with her context. And I don't think she really said. I think what she's saying, and I actually agree with her. She's saying that Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood,
right,
which Planned Parenthood was founded on the basis of exterminating black folk. I think you know that
right,
too.
Right.
And so what I think if I understand the caller, if I can finish, I promise I'll be quick. I think what the caller is saying is that Hillary Clinton is a strong advocate of Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood strategically places over 80% of the surgical abortion clinics in America today in predominantly black communities. I think a strong argument can and should be made.
But hold on. Stay.
Dangerous agenda against
right.
black folks.
But
I think that's what the caller is saying.
Okay, I understand where she's going. That's the right to life. I mean, there's an entire conversation around the right to life. But we can argue in as much as the right to life will have credible arguments on the right. There's stronger arguments on the left about the necessity of Planned Parenthood. You understand? So I think that's an entire debate on Roe v. Wade and abortion. That's a whole Pandora box we can go into. And I don't want to get distracted. I mean, it's an important issue, but, I think Planned Parenthood, for the most part, has helped a lot of women. That's my viewpoint.
Yeah, I agree. I think that when we look at, Planned Parenthood, they also do more than abortion services.
And I like to have this Planned Parenthood discussion when we have women at the round table. I don't think it's fair for us to have this discussion around Planned Parenthood and it's just a bunch of men talking about it. That's not fair, and I don't want to push that idea. So we'll have Planned Parenthood conversation when women are on the line, and we'll have the men, or she can call in at the time and say that.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, let's do that. When we come back, Levi has been waiting. Levi will take your calls when we come back. It's Red Line, the round table on Superstation 910 AM. I'm Bankole Thompson.
to the point. Get to East Point Auto Sales where everyone drives. Social Security, bankruptcies, repos, bad credit, no big deal. East Point's professional staff will get you driving today. Located on 8 Mile Road across from Eastland Mall. It's easy to get to the point where everyone drives. Visit eastpointautosales.com or call 586-779-0000. 586-779-0000. Get to the point. East Point Auto Sales, where everyone drives. It's the Late Night Music Marathon from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m.
We set the roof on fire. We set the roof on fire. We set the roof on fire. We set the roof on fire.
Hey, look at my down. Look at my down. Look at my down. Look at my down. Look at my down.
On 910 AM Superstation, the most powerful voices in the urban community.
Take a laughcation with American Dad. Fly the friendly airways.
Right here, honey.
See the sights.
What's up?
Relax and unwind.
Just gotta find my quiet place. I got ya. I'll come back to that one.
It's an all-inclusive comedy getaway.
Get a picture of these. Meow.
Take a laughcation with American Dad. Viewer discretion advised.
Weeknights at 12 midnight on WADL Detroit. When you think of power, aggression, boldness, and in-your-face honesty, there's only one station that comes to mind, and that's 910 AM Superstation. We're the hottest station in town. Why? Because when it happens, we talk about it.
Just listen to a few remarks from President-elect Donald Trump, and he talked about...
Wait. Did you say President-elect? Trump is not President-elect. I will not let you get away with that on the air here. He's not President-elect. We deal with the facts. There's a news program here.
I believe you're taking this position with me on this question.
Of course, I will take the position with you. No.
You have yours and I have mine. You're going to correct me.
Yeah, that's right. No, I will correct you. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Send me to the principal, too. Thank you, Bankole.
910 AM Superstation has the best, the brightest, and the bravest voices in the urban community. Don't believe me? Just listen. WADL Detroit is the station that satisfies all of your programming and entertainment needs. We're bringing you an exclusive collection of the latest, the greatest, and all your favorites in between. Laugh with the popular personalities of the present. And don't forget your free ticket to the box office. If you want it, WADL has it. We're your one-stop shop for all the programs you love. We are WADL Detroit.
Welcome back. I'm Bankole Thompson. You're listening to Redline on Superstation 910 AM. Diama Murphy, Regional Director of the local project, Stacey Swimp, political commentator and a self-described independent who is not voting for neither Trump or Hillary Clinton. And, of course, Brandon Snyder, the Director of Organizing for Michigan United. The weather right now is 91 degrees and is brought to you by Weather Vision. But we're taking your calls at 313-209-9000. Let's go to our call on the line now. Levi has been waiting. Question or comment?
Hey, how you brothers doing? I want to make a comment.
Go ahead.
You know, hey, what's up, my dear brother, Bankole? I know we've had words and whatever, but I still love you as my brother.
Same here, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, sir. You need to consider allowing me to sit in on some of these round tables to offer my, perspective as far as from a layman's perspective. These academics that you have on here, man, are like, so you guys are doing a good job, but to be honest with you, you need some spice. You know what I'm saying? You need some spice. My genius, my brilliance need to be exhibited on your show. However, let me say this, my dear brother. I listen to you black academics, man, and you said earlier that Hillary should talk about. And I said to myself, that's the problem. As black folk and I'm not indicting you. I just want you to listen.
Sure, go ahead. I'm listening.
That's enough? Is that enough to talk about? No. She should commit to doing something about. You take, for instance, the crime bill that her husband signed.
Right.
She, her husband, all of them have come close, if not outright admitted that it was immoral, unethical. Okay, so where is our black voice saying to Hillary Clinton, if you want any of us to get out of our homes and vote for you, you're going to have to commit to eradicating that bill through whatever measures day one in office and release our brothers and sisters, black, brown, and even those poor whites who are suffering, languishing in prison right now over this bill.
Right.
The brother there, the academic, the brother just said, Donald Trump is polarizing us. I mean, Jesus Christ, brother, when the last time have you visited 6 Mile, Wyoming, 7 Mile, Wyoming, all the way down to Gratiot and Shane and Bewick and Mac? And then when the last time you visited, I ask you, Birmingham and Royal Oak and West Bloomfield? Hell, we're already polarized. You got black folk living in substandard, subhuman conditions in the hood where everyone and their mama is exploiting us. We don't have any political advocacy. We don't have anyone in education. Our churches, most of them are just pimping us. But you're going to say you want to put the onus on Donald Trump?
So, Levi, right, go ahead, Levi. Uh-huh.
The brother said earlier that, but I'm not going to turn this to Planned Parenthood, but he said Planned Parenthood was founded on the principle of exterminating black people. Hell, the whole damn country was founded on the principles of exterminating black people. The country was built on the extermination of black people. Don't point to Planned Parenthood. Look at your justice system. Look at your religious order. Look at your political system. Everything that falls up under the auspices of the United States government, past and present, is designed to destroy black leadership, like under COINTELPRO with J. Edgar Hoover and them. They weren't just trying to kill Dr. King and them. They were trying to kill us. So just add me to these conversations sometime, brother. So spice it up, baby.
So let me do this. Let me do this, Levi. Let me do this. And I'm glad you called. No, seriously. And I'm glad you called. I want to encourage you to keep calling. Definitely, I will definitely consider your invitation to be on this panel. But let me clarify something here. The people that I bring in here are engaged. They're not ivory tower speakers. Diamo is a brother from the hood. Okay, he's not ivory tower. Brandon Snyder is the director of organizing for Michigan United. He can give you a whole list of all that social justice stuff you talked about. Maybe you can actually be a member of Michigan United. So these brothers are connected. They're not just here talking. This is not an ivory tower conversation. It's not a Harvard University paper presentation. We're having an intelligent dialogue. But I appreciate you calling, and I want you to keep calling. And I will commit to, I will consider your invitation to be on the panel. All right? Thank you so much. Let's go to the next call. Diamo, you want to respond?
No, I like the energy that Levi brings to the conversation always. The only concern that I ever have is that we can state, the obvious, and a lot of it is obvious, and he goes into greater depth on, where those fractures and the problems are. That's fantastic. The problem is, at what point do we address it, and where is the right thing? So leveraging a candidate in the middle of a campaign is not necessarily the best way to do it. We've got to figure out how to impact our voice into those rooms and know that the people going in that room won't be co-opted on the way in.
Yeah. I'm moving from Levi to Leroy. So let's see. Leroy, question or comment?
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I must say I respectfully disagree with Levi. Let me tell you what, it was the black people or the black community that demanded that time there. That crack cocaine had interjected.
Leroy, hold on. Your phone is not coming out clear. It's that there's something.
I can hear him.
Okay, go ahead now.
Yeah, it was the black people who demanded that something be done about that crack cocaine. That crack cocaine demoralized our community.
Leroy, can you call us back? This signal is not coming clear for us in studio. So if you can call us back at 313-209-9000. Maybe you have a radio on or something, but call us back with a better signal. Thank you so much. Let me go back to the panel. Stacy, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yes. No, Stacy.
I'll defer to you, Brandon. Go ahead.
Go. Thank you. So I was going to say, I think what a lot of what Levi was saying is absolutely incorrect. The issue is that now, regardless of if it's a candidate for office or the president, are we going to hold this person accountable? Are we going to mobilize? Are we going to build relationships across the board to actually, challenge this person and create the type of policies that we want to see? I think that for so often and so long that we don't have regular people telling their stories. And it's important for organizations like mine that we get people like the Levi's of the world to actually tell their stories and, and speak truth to power. So I agree. But I think it's more than just talking the talk. It's also, walking a walk and actually being engaged in the community within these organizations that are doing it.
And the big issue with that, Bankole, is, and that's a good point, the big issue is that when you look at Detroit, nobody's coming into our city in the middle of the night and ghettoing it out. So if you've got an area that's under some siege, it's not. Yes, there's joblessness, and yes, there's some other issues, but there's an education issue. You know, how are you going to care for your property? How are you going to live in your neighborhood? Are you going to have trash everywhere? Are you going to just let it go down? Why can't you change your own signage if there's no ordinance? So there's a lot of things that if we see the problem, we can fix. And then the other thing is that it only takes X amount of thousands of votes to elect a mayor or city council. So if we keep electing the same people, then shame on us.
Yeah, there was a state house race that was won by 23 votes.
23.
That's right. That's the one that Carla Tinsley collided, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, gentlemen. Just please, I'd like to say one quick thing before we run out of time. You know, I keep thinking about the Carter G. Woodson, and he wrote a book called The Miseducation of the Negro, and maybe the three of you have read that book as well.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
He wrote a chapter in this book called The Educated Negro Has Been Useless to the Black Community. I think that one of the biggest mistakes, Brother Bankole made a reference to the mayor of Flint, and I totally agree with him when he said that she jumped out too soon to endorse Hillary Clinton. She lost her leverage. I believe Brother Bankole said that. Now, I like to broaden that. I'd like to say that, you know, Dr. King once said, when asked the question, are you a Democrat or a Republican? He said, I am neither. He said that someone had to hold both these parties accountable and be the conscience of the party. He called for black people to be careful about giving ourselves too quickly over to partisan sides one way or the other, because in doing so, as Bankole said about the Flint mayor, we would lose our leverage. Over the last 45 to 50 years, as black folk, we have lost our leverage with the Democrat Party because they know what most of us are going to do anyway. So the Republican Party know what we're going to do anyway because we already overcommit ourselves to the Democrat Party. So I think we have to have a serious conversation about regaining our political leverage in the black community at large. I don't mean just Detroit or Flint or Michigan. I mean on a national level, because we are too partisan. We don't hold the Democrat Party accountable. We don't engage the Republican Party. So neither one of these parties, in my opinion, gives us the proper respect. It just so happens, however, that the Democrat Party is the only party so far that will address us on criminal justice reform and so on and so forth. But they don't go to the distance. They didn't go to the distance reforming the Reagan anti-drug policies that are locking up black folk at record rates. They didn't necessarily repeal Bill Clinton's policies. They give us spoonfuls, gentlemen. They give us spoonfuls just enough to perpetuate the idea that they're pushing pro-black policies, but they're not really going the distance because we don't hold them accountable to make them go the distance because we are too given unto partisanship. I think we need to readdress that at some point.
Yeah, I agree with Stacey, except I don't think that it's about partisan issues because you have to plant your tent where there's at least the semblance of we want you here. You know, the Republican Party has done a dismal job of suggesting we want you here as we alienate.
And suddenly with another nominee like Donald Trump.
Who alienates everybody I'm not. But let me finish this point. So I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is that I want to expand it in a slightly different direction, and that is that we've just got to get better about building coalitions because we understand that as blacks here in the city, you know, we get comfortable because we've been the majority. But then look at how that has played out if we don't understand coalition. So when you get into a national level, you've got to have coalitions with you know, we can't be on here saying, well, these Muslims, these Arabs, these blah, blah, blah. These are very coalitions that we need to build a block large enough to be able to change things. We're never going to change it on our own in one party and definitely not divided into two. So because we just get smaller. So the problem is that we've got to begin to build broader coalitions around core issues that are not just black and white, but that affect us on the ground.
All right, 313-209-9000, 313-209-9000 is the number to call and join in with our roundtable. Diama Murphy, Brandon Snyder, and Stacey Swimp. We're going to quick break. When we come back, we'll take the final segment. Hillary Clinton in town tomorrow. What does it mean? Does it change the game here, especially the coattail effects with the Michigan House in Lansing? We'll talk about that as well.
Get to the point. Get to East Point Auto Sales where everyone drives. Social Security, bankruptcies, repos, bad credit, no big deal. East Point's professional staff will get you driving today. Located on 8 Mile Road across from Eastland Mall. It's easy to get to the point where everyone drives. Visit eastpointautosales.com or call 586-779-0000. 586-779-0000. Get to the point. East Point Auto Sales, where everyone drives. If drama is what you want, Law and Order Criminal Intent is what you need.
Who would do something like this? I don't know. But I can promise you this. Whoever did do this, we're gonna get him.
Law and Order CI does it all. Investigations, interrogations, and dissects the actions and motives of some of the most heartless criminals in New York City. It's Law and Order Criminal Intent, and it's airing on WADL Detroit, weekdays at 8 and 9 p.m.
Supreme Justice with Judge Karen.
You give men the permission to treat you poorly. I'm very passionate about helping people, period. It doesn't matter what you tell me. What matters is when you by yourself, what you tell you. You can always turn your life around. If you keep walking, eventually things are going to change. And obviously what you tell you gets you in a lot of trouble.
Supreme Justice with Judge Karen.
At 12:30 on WADL Detroit. 910 AM Superstation is the voice of the people. Don't believe me? Just listen.
I listen all the time. Great radio personalities.
The new mobile site is incredible. With the visual live feed, this is a whole new level for community broadcasting. I'm also very impressed with the Bible section present both in a written and audio format. 910 AM has really stepped it up to a whole new level.
And we don't just show love to the callers. We see the comments and the posts too.
Great programming. Inspirational.
I know there's some good info on 910 AM Superstation.
We appreciate the love, and we can feel the support of the city. Keep it coming.
The latest promo for the 4 to 7 slot at the end says, the Goon Squad's on speed dial got me listening to reruns up to the dial.
OMG. A-listers on the radio.
So when you think of 910 AM Superstation, we want you to tune in, call in, and don't forget to find us on social media. WADL Detroit, a Dell Broadcasting Corporation. It's your one-stop shop for all the programs you love. The classics, the fan favorites, and all the movies you can handle. If you want it, we've got it. You want it all in one place. Look no further than WADL Detroit, a Dell Broadcasting Corporation.
Welcome back. You're listening to Redline on Superstation 910 AM and Bankole Thompson. Our final segment for the roundtable, Diamo Murphy, Brandon Snyder, and Stacey Swimp. I want to switch the pendulum quickly to the coattail effects here in Michigan. Earlier on the program at the start of the show, I had Jonathan Osting, who's a Detroit News Lansing Bureau political reporter, wrote a story saying that, there are lots of seats in play in Lansing as far as this election is concerned, that Democrats do have a chance of taking back the House in Lansing. With Hillary Clinton coming to town tomorrow, Brandon, do you think does that increase the chances?
I think it does. I think when you look at the Republican Party, they are worried about the guy at the top of the ticket. And people are making a decision like, am I going to run with him? Am I going to run against him? And what that does is, it opens up a lot of districts that we have not had in play before. You look at 23 in Brownstown. You look at, Canton. Canton's is already a Democratic seat, but you look at just the opportunity to open up different places and different seats within the city. So I think that we have, a really great opportunity with this. And I think just one more piece to that is that, it starts with this race right now, just this meltdown. But with Hillary and with the opportunity that's present, we can't let up and just allow this as her to skate in and have and just have a conversation and a red carpet. We have to actually press and create and have the conversations of substance with her, so that when we are talking about issues that matter to people's pocketbooks and are talking about the actual justice issues that so many of us are concerned about here in the African American community.
Diamo, do you think Democrats have a chance of taking back the House in Lansing? Because that has a net effect in terms of just the bills that will be passed. Does it bring DPS back into play?
Yeah, I don't know if the entire House is in play, and I don't want us to extend beyond that,
right?
Because there's some stronghold areas. But I think what this candidacy does at a national level is it gives a lot of air cover. If Hillary comes in and begins to have a conversation about the adverse policies of the Republican Party, of this Republican legislature, and then ties them to Donald Trump and the extremism of Donald Trump and the unreliability, I think that you may get some distancing where you can pick up some seats in there and begin to have some sensible dialogue. You may have to at least get to the point of negotiation. Right now, this legislature doesn't even have to negotiate because they've been running everything through and then illegally running things through with immediate effect, and nobody's been able to even challenge the illegal behavior of immediate effect when they don't even have the numbers to do that. So it's just I think that she just really needs to speak to the issues on the ground and then let everything happen where it happens.
So, Stacey, is there anything that Hillary Clinton can do tomorrow to convince you? You laid out some issues that you want to hear her talk about and make commitments to.
No, there's absolutely nothing. For me personally, there's nothing she could say or do that convince me to vote for her. But if I may say in jest as we close,
go ahead.
I think that the best campaign manager or campaigner that Hillary Clinton has is Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I believe that all she really has to do is stay on her issues and not misspeak and just let Donald Trump keep talking because that alone is possibly going to cost the Republican Party the House on the national level. I heard you say in Lansing, but in Lansing, no, the Republicans in the state of Michigan, I think, are safe in terms of maintaining the House here.
Well, I'm not sure, though. I interviewed a reporter from the Detroit News earlier at the start of the program, and he wrote a story basically saying that about 9 seats are up for play, I think, in Lansing, and that, that in the House.
I'm not clear on what the majority is right now. How large is the majority?
Go ahead, Stacey.
I've seen some of the same reports. It's just, it's just an opinion. I don't think that.
Right.
I don't think the Republicans are going to lose the House in Michigan, and I think the Republican Party here in Michigan have been very careful as to how they approach this issue because most of them are very concerned about Donald Trump. I feel sorry for Wayne Bradley. He's the director of the African American outreach for the Republican Party in Detroit, and he's tasked as a director with the responsibility of advocating the Republican Party in Detroit with a guy like Donald Trump at the top of your ticket. I mean, that's got to be the toughest job in the state.
And and it's funny you said because Brother Wayne responded to my Facebook post when I said Trump wasn't giving. I mean, this was my opinion. Trump was not giving an economic speech, and he said I was not listening. But I basically asked the brother that I want to have him. Actually, I'm going to invite him. I want him to come and explain to me why Trump has attracted the attention of David Duke and, David Duke and the white supremacists and all this. I want the brother to explain to me, because I think he's a brother first before. Huh?
Have he accepted your invitation?
I will send it to him. He fired back with an LOL. So I'm going to send him an invitation to come on. I mean, he's been on my program before, so I really want to have a dialogue on the air. Let him explain. I think it's very interesting to explain what is the attraction with Donald Trump. And it's not a question of we are running to racism, but I mean, it's frightful when you have a nominee for president, who was not actually, who was not actually really.
I saw your Facebook post. I actually saw that Facebook post, and I saw his response. And I think Wayne is a good guy. I know Wayne. I think
No. I mean, look.
But as the director of the African American Outreach Office, I do think he does have a responsibility, in fact, to come on your show and answer these questions.
I will be inviting Brother Wayne Bradley definitely to come on the show, and let's talk all things Trump. As we march the countdown to November. Let me begin to take final comments. Stacey, I'll start with you, and then I'll come to our studio panel. Final comments about Hillary Clinton's visit tomorrow. Stacey there? Okay, well, Dion, go ahead.
First of all, thank you for having me on the show today, Bankole, and I appreciate my colleagues, your guests. I appreciate you guys' comments, and it sounds to me like we find a lot of agreement as well. So, we'll just have to keep doing what we do in our respective corners, and I think we all agree with one thing, that America cannot afford Donald Trump. I think we agree with that.
America is better than Donald Trump. Diama Murphy.
As always, I appreciate being on with you as well. The guests were great. The conversation was spirited. I just want to say that as we look at towards November, we need to make certain that, just as Stacey said, we stay in our lanes and begin to do our work in our particular areas, but that we do need to have more dialogue, more community-wide dialogue on what the core agenda is, because sometimes it's hard to ask somebody to support an agenda that we have not clarified fully yet. We need to walk in with a 10-point agenda.
Brandon Snyder?
Yeah, thank you as well for having me on the show, and thank you to the other guests. So, I want to say that, we can't just only look to the top of the ticket, with Hillary. We also have to look at the local elections. We have to make sure that we are going out, we're mobilizing for these elections, but we're also training and developing the next cadre of people to run for these offices, that it can't just be your traditional mainstream Democrats and people who avoid race or avoid class. We have to actually talk about people and bring people in that are regular people to run for office as well.
And Redline will be back with you on Friday for the analysis on Hillary Clinton's speech in Warren and what she's going to say tomorrow. I'd be interested to hear what she says and what she unveils for Michigan, a battleground state, a swing state, a Wolverine state, if you will. I want to thank our guest today, Detroit News political reporter Jonathan Osting, Bob Weiner.